so happy to meet you.
It's a blessing for me to meet you too.
Thank you very much. I saw last night that you were coming down to London, and I immediately booked my ticket, booked my flight and everything to come down to come and see you.
For me.
Thank you very much. So we're from Global African Investors Alliance.
I follow you.
You follow me?
Yeah. I see your news.
Thank you. And our main target is the African diaspora, and that means African diaspora from the transatlantic, slavery, and the African diaspora that came voluntarily in the 60s and 70s.
Even if I'm not sure that somebody come voluntarily, I think that there is an economic system who trying to push us to go in Europe, go everywhere in the world, in the Western Hemisphere. That's a problem. And that's for this reason that the message of Marcus Garvey is very important today.
Absolutely. So I am...
Excuse me for my bad English.
No, your English is very good. I can understand you, that's fine. Okay. I am one of the descendants of those who left in the 70s. So
exactly like me.
Exactly like you, exactly. And I left, I was removed from Nigeria at the age of 10 to live in France.
Okay.
And that feeling of detachment never left me.
Yeah.
So grown up, being an adult now, I grew up by the ideas that Africa is good, and if Africa is bad, there's nothing there for you. But at some point, about 10 years ago, I made a business plan and a life plan. I said, I'm going to achieve what I need to achieve here in Europe, and once that is done, I'm going to pack my bags and then go back home and take all my skills back home. But it wasn't meant, it was met with a lot of negativity, a lot of pessimism. So last year, I jumped on a tour with my dear friend, Diana Samir, and your brother. And I went to Nigeria, toured with him, and absolutely fell in love, back in love with my country. And I said to myself, there's so many people in the diaspora like myself who are just afraid to take the jump. So which is the reason why I created the Global African Investors Alliance. And it is to bring the diaspora home. And I know that with what you do on a daily basis, your fight is to convince the diaspora to wake up and invest back.
In fact, for beginning, I came back in Africa. Definitely, there is 10 years.
You came back in 10 years ago.
I was born in France, as you know, and the first part of my life and struggle was in diaspora. And at the moment, I said to myself that a Pan-African who is far from Africa is like a footballer without ball. We need at the moment of our life to understand the power of diaspora and the duty of diaspora for Africa, for our continent, for the motherland. And after I came back, I saw many steps, many difficulties, of course, because it's not easy when you are in the Western Hemisphere with all this facility. Honestly, we need to be honest. I came back in Africa. There is problem of electricity, there is problem of water, etc. But nobody can be more happy to be in his land than African surrounded by Africa.
Absolutely agree with
And for this reason, what I try to say to our brothers and sisters is there is an historical moment in Africa now. Our nation needs to make a real disconnection with the colonial nation, like Britain, like UK, like France, Spain, and something like that, some country like that. There is a real struggle now, economically, politically, and culturally. And we need to remember ourselves that Pan-Africanism was born in diaspora. So there is a duty of diaspora towards the motherland. I think that's important to say that.
Absolutely. I know that you have woken a lot of people up politically to what is going on in Africa. So what advice would you give? Because one of the main things from the diaspora is, if I go to Africa, what am I going to do? There's no jobs, there's no this, there's that.
I have the word in French. In English, maybe I will take more time for finding this word, but when there is a nation who isn't enough developed, you understand developed?
Development,
yeah. Development, I speak about development.
Okay.
Okay, economic development.
Okay.
If there is no an economic development, everybody who will come will be able to create something great. Because when there is nothing or nothing enough,
there's an opportunity.
That's not an opportunity for individual mind, you understand? But for collective mind, you can be able to start to build something with brothers and sisters in the way of solidarity, And myself, I'm the first example of that. I'm an anti-capitalist, definitely. It doesn't mean that I'm communist, because I think that today in the 21st century, communism is not a problem, and solidarity existed in Africa a long time before Karl Marx and his long, came in existence. But solidarity exists since a long time, and because I am anti-capitalist, I understood the necessity, as taught us Mr. Thomas Sankara, to create something for give value to our production. In this way, I create a business center of only 100% African produce. Okay. Restroom, supermarket, and clothes, African clothes store. Okay. In Cotonou, I created that and invest that. There is many black player of football.
Okay.
Football players,
football players.
Who support my struggle.
Yes. Yeah.
And not investment, but who gave me this money because they are touched by my work since long years.
Yeah.
And with all this money, I could, if I was insane, I could use this money and
spend go around in
Ferraris and bullshit like that. No, I said myself, well, I will use this money for create economic and business center for the people, because African producers are discriminated by the white multinational. Of course, and we can't say we are against the French product or against the English product, and in the same time we are not able to give value to African product. And it was in this way that I understood the necessity, with all my staff, of course, to create this building, and now it's working. It's working since 8 months, I think.
Okay.
And it's another part of our struggle. Our struggle first is political, definitely, intellectual, definitely. But I think that we can't do something if we are not an economics, if we don't have an economic system who help us.
Okay, fantastic. And to add to what you've just said, this is also the purpose of the Global African Investors Alliance. About 2 weeks ago, I spent 2 weeks in Nigeria, and I interviewed about 30 different industries in terms of what can they offer the diaspora. And pretty much every single one of them have got endless pool of employment waiting for anyone to tap into what they've already set up and start working. If tomorrow someone wants to start in agriculture, I have people who are experts in farming, and also in export and negotiation of prices, and turning cassava into different kind of products. Everyone is in place. So this is what the Global African Investors were saying. The diaspora, there's absolutely nothing you cannot do in Africa. You just have to believe, you just have to know that it is there. And I'm very happy that I'm very happy that we are on the same bandwagon. So thank you very much, Kemi Seba.
Thank you.
I'm very, very happy to have met you. And for the diaspora, as you can see, the struggle continues. If you want to know anything about starting any kind of business in Nigeria or in Africa, please send us an email to business@globalafricaninvestorsalliance.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my dear sister.
Thank you, Skedi.
Take care about you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, take a picture.
We got one more.
Take a picture.
You want a picture?